All right, so we live right now.
Mm.
We in
Oh,
the
I
building right
didn't
now.
realize it wasn't live yet. My bad.
Oh yeah,
No, we wasn't. No, we live now. We live
Mm.
right now. So hopefully people pull up. And like the video I made before, I told you that I was gonna have some Israelite brothers joining. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, and we're gonna discuss, the practicalities of the Bible, the belief of the Bible, what way is best for our people, Kemet, and other African spirituality or ideologies in comparison to. Can they coexist? What are the contentions? What could be the best way? And I don't know. We're just gonna let it flow. You know what I'm saying? If people pull up or whatever, we'll allow them maybe to enter as well, or at least entertain their chat. Just to be clear, let me show the post just so people can get a reference of what sparked this conversation. And I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. First of all, I appreciate you coming through.
Mm.
Appreciate y'all both coming through. And when I put it out there that we could have this conversation, honestly, I did not expect at all for you to, what I'm saying, want to pull up. I didn't
I like
expect. I
smoke.
didn't.
man.
I like smoke. Hey, what's
I, I,
up?
I expected that you was gonna duck, run.
No, no.
No.
Hey,
Hey,
like I said before, man. The crib ain't on fire, bro. So I ain't ducking no smoke.
Okay, I ain't gonna lie though. Hey, because I've had these kind of situations before. Let me share this real quick just so people can see it. Because I've had these saying back and forth before on Facebook and other social media, and I've asked, hey, we'll come, let's pull up, let's hear you say that in real time, so we could challenge each other in real time, where it's not just clickety clack, where you could copy and paste. In fact, so I have a radio show called Black Eye Stand Radio. I haven't done anything with it for a couple of years, but I went strong like 4 or 5 years with it. I've had pretty much everybody from the House of Consciousness on it, all pretty much all the master teachers, and saying a lot of local activists or whatnot. And I'm pretty sure you know who Brother Tazariak is.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, we know that, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Shout out.
we've had our discussions, whatever. But we made a plan for him to come to the show. Now he was going to come to the show at the time where he was touring with Irritated Genie. You heard of Irritated Genie?
I don't think I heard of that.
All right. Well, he's a brother who was like one of the first ones that was really exposing the homosexual agenda.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And I've had him on my show a few times. And so they was both doing this tour called No Homo, where they was going from city to city and just exposing the, pedophilia and homosexual agenda and stuff. So I invited Zariak to come on. Now, I didn't invite him so we could like debate on the belief. I invited him because I've already interviewed Irritated Genie a few times, and I supported what they were doing. So I really was gonna just let him like promote that and speak in those terms. But I think, because I know a couple of his boys forwarded him like a video clip or a video that I did where I mentioned him, and I don't know if like he felt some kind of way, because when it came, we had the flyers and everything, but when it came down to it, he just backed up. Hotep to R. Crawley, what's up, man? Peace. Thanks for pulling up, bro. Thanks for pulling up. Make sure you like. Make sure you like so we can get the algorithms going. So, what was we saying? What was that about?
The irritated genie.
Yeah, I forgot what the point was, but
I think you were talking about the Zaryak at first and how you were supposed to be.
yeah. Oh yeah. So you know what I'm saying? So he ducked. And then a lot of other cats, you know what I'm saying? They've
No,
always
I don't think he likes. I don't think that Tazariak will like, and not to stick up because I don't know what the situation was. I'm not saying he was or wasn't. But I've seen him on plenty of platforms where he was, debating and in debates. But if you look
Yeah,
at his
that's what
energy,
it's do, man.
I don't think he likes doing it per se. I think he kind of finds it more like irritating.
I wouldn't even say that. So I don't know. I can't speak for the brother.
nah during this time it was like the peak of him doing these kind of things.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was like the Sinetta days.
Yeah. It was like during the peak of that.
I don't know. Because I don't know.
But like I said, my intentions wasn't to do that. My intention was just to let him promote, and that's what I came at him with, and that's what he agreed with. But I think before he came on, before the day came, somebody sent him some stuff, and I know they did. Matter of fact, sent him some stuff. So I think maybe he thought I was going to challenge him on that, and he, whatever the case may be, but he pretended he forgot. You know what I'm saying?
I don't believe the brother ducked any smoke, but You have to talk to him about that.
He didn't pull up. I know that much.
It
Whatever it was. But anyway, so I didn't, because of these kind of things that happened. I didn't really expect you to respond or to want to come through, but I appreciate that you did. That you had the courage to do that. That you could stand on your square,
is.
and that you had the integrity to pull up. So right now I'm showing on the screen the post that you made saying claiming to be Kemetic Egyptian while having no Sudanese blood. Interesting. Now I took that as a troll, but go ahead and tell me. First of all, tell the people who you guys are, what you stand on.
Yeah, well, I'm first of all, I'm Ivan Williams, but my legal name is Brother Yokana Ben Lewy, the head Morris Long Faith Assembly.
My name is Hamzah. I was raised Salafi Muslim actually, so my name is not legally Hamzah. If you ever look me up, it won't be Hamzah, but I go by Hamzah. I'm the co-head of the Law Faith Assembly, and yeah, that's it. That's who we are.
All right, so now we gotta discuss this post right here, man. So
So
what made you come up with this post right here?
So we know that the context of the post is that we know that there was a period of time when who we would refer to as the Arabs invaded into Egypt and kicked out and subdued the people that were originally there, right? We know that the original inhabitants of Egypt or Kemet are black people. And those people we would call or refer to as the Sudanese or however you pronounce it, Sudanese today. One of the pieces of evidence that we have for that is that we know that there's pyramids in Egypt, and wherever the Sudanese went to the south, there are also pyramids there. So we
Mm-hmm.
understand that there's a certain particular people that inhabited Egypt before what we refer to as the Arabs. But the people who primarily came to the Americas during the slave trade are not Sudanese. So what the point of the post is conveying is that we're not the people who are Egyptian by blood, and the people that we come from by blood have these cultural habits that line up with the scripture. Some of those things might be the ashes for mourning. Some of those things might be what's some other ones? I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Man, it really is. It's a lot. When you want to go to language, different customs, way, style of dress, and all of that. Um, but yeah, so the brothers is saying that for the most part, the I guess the so-called black people who were brought over here to this hemisphere, we have less in common with the Sudanese people, and we know for a fact that a lot of Sudanese people descend from the ancient Egyptians.
Okay, that's fair. But did you? And I agree with you that we don't really have a direct ties to Sudan or even a direct tie to Kemet.
Right.
However, a couple things you have to understand though.
Mm,
One, ancient Egypt or Kemet, as most of us refer to it as, was a compilation from all over the continent, meaning
absolutely.
meaning like New York.
Yeah.
Everybody in New York ain't from New York, right? Some people are from the West Coast, some people from the South, some from the Midwest,
Right.
from the Northwest, and the best of the best, what I'm saying, converge there.
Mm,
And it just so happens because of the climate and because of the monumental structures that were built and because of the immediate access that it afforded Europeans,
mm.
right? That happens to be the most documented, and you know what I mean? But it's not like we weren't doing things all over, even this continent and Africa. It's just that they didn't really have access, and then maybe because of the weather, it didn't preserve it as well. And they
Well,
weren't right across the water, so where they could just get right across the Mediterranean Sea to be there to document it, to study, to learn, and all that kind of stuff. Go ahead, though.
so if the point is that Africans of different national ethnic or different national backgrounds
Yeah.
had a mixing of culture, I think that we would agree. If the point is that several different African nations made their way into the Americas and added to the culture of the Americas, sure, I don't think that we disagree on that. What we're saying is that there is a certain specific cultural group that we belong to genetically, and that particular cultural group has its own customs that we find in the scripture to be a unique set of customs for most.
And with that, that's not to say that we don't come from, we don't descend from anybody who has ever been in Egypt, who has ever lived in Egypt for a substantial amount of time, but that doesn't ethnically make us Egyptians.
Okay. Well, to be Egyptian means that you're born in Egypt. That's a nationality. To be of the same bloodline or related by descension is a different thing.
Right.
And I don't know if you're aware, but 60%. First of all, King Ramses II
Mm.
was West African, meaning that his folks came from West Africa to Kemet,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And 60% of black folks in the United States share the same haplogroup, which is H1B1A, as him. So you could almost say that, yeah, we are related to that. And then we know that, saying if you study history, like I said, people converged from all over Africa into Kemet and also dispersed the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So some people say the Dogons were from the priesthood, and that's what they say, actually. You know what I'm saying? So there are those remnants. Like, you got to understand, like, after they were conquered so many times, just like I'm sure you guys are going to bring up the when what was that, Rome, when they went into Israel and did the slaughter. So people was scattered, and then over time, people
Right.
like migrate further and further and further. So I think that the Kemetic connection is actually more authentic than you guys may be given credit for.
So, com- are you talking about Kemetic in bloodline?
I mean,
Who do you mean by what exactly do you mean by Kemetic connection?
I
Like I
mean,
said, I don't deny that we had ties to ancient Egypt or Kemet by any means. Like you said, there were so many different people groups who partook um, in the building of the ancient Egypt and Kemet.
yeah,
You feel me?
yeah,
So people came from all over the place. That's why you got different dynasties. You know what I'm saying? Not every
right.
dynasty was someone of Kemetic blood. So, but that doesn't necessarily make us or anybody else a descendant of the or part of that same people group. Right.
That's
That's
that's that's that's a fair argument.
Yeah.
But in regards to the post, it does mean that you don't have to have Sudanese blood to
correct,
claim a connection.
correct. But I would say in this particular post, the highlighted
You guys was trolling. Just admit you was trolling, man.
So look,
man, no,
I
I
just
no.
look, my brother, look,
Y'all was trolling, man.
look.
He specifically highlighted the Sudanese. You know what I'm
So
saying?
I'll give you this. I'll give you this. I'm not gonna say I wasn't trolling.
It's okay.
You a Christian, boy.
Okay.
I'm not trolling from the angle of I believe I'm speaking lies for the purpose of having fun. No,
Right,
I
right.
believe
I know.
that if you can say something thought provoking enough to maybe make a strong conversation or an argument, you can enlighten people through the toughness of that conversation.
That's fair.
So that was the. If we want to use the term trolling, sure, I guess I could concede to being a troll for that.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. All right. So you were saying, like, okay, traditions, like certain West African traditions. You're implying that
Mhm.
were Hebrew in nature.
Yes.
Going to that.
So hold on one second. Give me a second. As you can see, this book is very old. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard of it because I don't know if it was you or another brother that talked about the golden trade of the Moors. I know that they often talk about the golden age of the Moors, but this book is the golden trade of the Moors. Hold on one second. Let me pull up the passage. There
Hey,
is.
hey, by the way, this was trolling too. Wearing the
Okay.
hat. Wearing this hat was trolling. So,
Hey, I just thought you was
I saw
being
you,
huh?
like whatever. So
yeah,
let me
that was a troll.
just for my just for me, let me get a clear understanding of your worldview. First
All
of all.
right. So, like I said, man, if you would have asked me years ago, I would have said Pan African. right? If you would have even asked me before that, I would have said Israelite. If you ask me now, I would say I'm still a black nationalist. I never wasn't that. But I would say I would even throw FBA. And I know that's something that was made popular by the likes of Tariq Nasheed. And I say FBA because kind of like y'all, you have the same kind of belief that we have to tribe up and we recognize specifically who we are is as not directly being African
Right.
or from other diaspora things, right? Like we have our own, like I don't know if you guys subscribe to the Judah is North America and all that kind of thing. If you do, that's very similar to me saying FBA. Because we're saying like, yo, not that we don't have love for anybody else, but we understand who we are specifically and we have to operate in our best interest and capacity. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
and with that, who do you say we are specifically?
I mean, like, so based on history, right? Yeah, did some of us come from West Africa? Yeah. Were some of us already here? Yes. Did others come after and mix with us? Yes. So like we're a new people at this point. You know what I'm saying? We're a new people. We're not African. I mean, genetically, yes,
So,
but my folks ain't been in Africa for a long time. If you know what I'm saying, assuming that, you know what I'm saying, because it's like there were already people like us here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Indian because that means you're from India. I'm saying there were already black people here, and we could prove that by
Yeah.
by the history of the Omax who came from West Africa. We could prove that by the history of Mansa Musa, who became king when his
His brother.
his brother. We could prove that. Listen, did you know that they claim Queen Hatshepsut
That's it. Yeah.
had cocaine and tobacco in her DNA? They found traces of cocaine and tobacco in her DNA.
This can only be found in this region of the world. Right?
Come on,
it's-
come on.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so we don't even have to argue about if she was getting sniffy and smoking cigarettes because she was stressed up. No, that don't even matter. That ain't the point. The point is that means that there was at least trade going on because, like,
Exactly. It used
like-
to lie. Yeah, I mean, even to agree with you though, it's just too much evidence because they finding Egyptian relics, man, in the Grand Canyon.
right?
You feel me? They finding gold and all this other stuff there. So that but yeah, I don't want to go too far off subject because brother was looking up something to answer your question.
All right. So let me just finish what I was saying then. So,
Yeah.
so seeing that I know that there were some of us that was here before Europeans, that's a fact. We was all over the planet. Some of us came from the transatlantic slave trade, but now information has indicated that really most of them went to like Brazil, not here. You know what I'm saying? But we was already here. Some did come here, and then over generations, other people migrated here, and we've mixed with all that. So we're like a new people. Unfortunately, we don't really know 100% of our background because it's either been hidden, destroyed, or so mixed up at this point to where we almost have to start from scratch. So I would say, and shout out to brother Shabaka. So I would say I'm more of a black nationalist, FBA. I still believe in Pan-Africanism, but even to be a Pan-African, you have to be a black nationalist first because you have to represent the best interests of your particular tribe first before you can really connect with other diaspora persuasions. You know what I'm saying? Like if we don't have our stuff together, we can't really hook up with our Haitian brothers or Jamaican brothers. We have to represent us first, and then we can work cohesively with the other parts of our family. You know what I'm saying? And from that perspective, they need to step it up because we've been holding the line. Like for those of us who are American, Black American, Pan-Africanists, if that, then like we've been holding the line. And we, you know what I'm saying? Like these other cats ain't really been getting in line with that. They don't look at us equally in a lot of cases. So from that, so I say like we need to we need to concentrate and focus on our tribe first, not with hate for other tribes, but just because like we understand our struggle and this is what we've been in for all this time. So we have to focus on us first. Then we could kumbaya with everybody else. If they're on that same page.
Interesting, you say kumbaya though, but
That is.
that's gonna come up a little later.
But okay, so I got the passage here that I want to read. I want to provide a little bit of context. So we know that this is Ibn Battuta, this particular writer. He was an Arab explorer, and he lived around in this particular time. This is around the 14th century. He was a traveler, and this is it doesn't say specifically in the writing where he was, but we know that this particular writing came around the area of Mali, right? It was around the Malian Empire, and we know
Mhm.
that the 14th century to the 1300s. And the context is that at this time, a lot of the people in the area are Muslim. We know that, right? Because it's Mali. We're not confused about that. We're not necessarily saying we're not saying that that doesn't make them not Israelites. But at the time, we know about the Arab conquest, and we understand that a lot of our people, regardless of you subscribing, I'm not saying you specifically, but regardless of people subscribing to our people being an original African kind of religion or Israelite or whatever, that's been for the most part done away with. Everyone's being forced to become Muslim, right? So let me
Yeah.
read the passage, given that context.
All right.
This is how he writes it. He's a little bit of a racist, but this is what he said.
All right.
The Negroes, he wrote, possess some admirable qualities. They are seldom unjust and have a greater adherence in injustice than any other people. Their sultan shows no mercy to anyone guilty of the least act of it. That sounds like it was a light buster. There is complete security in their country. Neither traveler nor inhabitant in it has anything to fear from robbers or men of violence. They do not confiscate the property of any white man who dies in their country, even if it be uncounted wealth. That's written in the law. On the contrary, they give it to them. On the contrary, they give it into the charge of some trustworthy person among the whites until the rightful heir takes possession of it. Hey, don't turn anything on right now. Anaya, turn that off. Possession of it. They are careful to observe the hours of prayer. They've been forced to be Muslim, so we understand that's where that's coming from. They are careful to observe the hours of prayer and assiduous in attending them in congregations and in bringing up their children to them. Among their bad qualities are the following: the women, servants, slave girls, and young girls go about in front of everyone naked without a stitch of clothing on them. Women go into the Sultan's presence naked and without covering, and his daughters also go about naked. Then is their custom of putting dust and ashes on their heads as a mark of respect. We know that the custom has been corrupted at this point. Another reprehensible practice among many of them is eating carry-on dogs and horses. So our contention is that we we believe that Israel has fallen away from the things they were supposed to have been doing, which is keeping the laws and the commandments of the Most High. Which is why you see them doing things like eating dogs, eating carrion, whereas before we would have never been doing things like that. But the ashes thing is something that I was talking about here.
So I mean, it's really many things, man. If you are you familiar with the Akan people?
Yeah.
So you know the Akan tribe. That's one of the more populous tribes of where people were taken and brought over here to the Americas by way of transit on the slave trade. So they have their priests have a breastplate of 12 stones, and that is highlighted in the Israelite priesthood. It was given to Aaron. So that's like one thing that I'm saying. We make connections so we can tell like who we are, where we come from. You know what I'm saying? That's not anything that's significant um, with a lot of other cultures or customs or tribes of people. You feel me? So and that's in Exodus 28. We can find these things in the Bible. We find um, there's a tribe. Let me see. Matter of fact, the Akan people, the Ashanti people. Ashanti means people of Ashan. Ashan is a descendant. There was a city in Judea. These people have oral traditions that they migrated from the east. So, and it's not just Ashanti or the Akan, but you have the Dahomey tribe. They know that they're from the tribe of Dan. the Ewe tribe in Ghana. These are all tribes that are people that were popular in the transatlantic slave trade that were brought over here, and they still kept certain customs, just like voodoo. Everybody's familiar with Haitian voodoo. I'm from New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? So voodoo was popular down there. But what most people don't know is that there are many practices within voodoo that are laid out in the Old Testament
Mm-hmm.
that the priests did. And
Yeah.
see, these are things that throughout hundreds of years, thousands of years, our people have held on to. Now, not everything exact, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, in 100%,
Mm-hmm.
but these are certain things. And then we can go to, we can even get into the languages of certain people because it's not just limited to the west coast of Africa, but like Central Africa. You know, slaves were taken, and even a small minority of people from South and Southeast East Africa. So you have people who are part of the Bantu language group, and those that's basically Hebrew, man. It's just another Bantu languages are just another dialect of Hebrew. So the reason why we speak English, the three of us brothers right here on camera, we speak English, but we're not from England.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Why do we speak English? Because our oppressors who ruled over us, who ruled over our ancestors, spoke English. That's the dominant language. So that's the language we were brought up in and we learned. Anytime a group of people speak a language that is not their native tongue, that is because it's because somebody else has taken over. That really was popular, became popularized with Hellenization during the time of Alexander the Greek. So my point for saying that is, you brought up Kumbaya. Kumbaya is a song that's what? It's a Negro spiritual, right? Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's a Negro spiritual, the slaves made that song up.
Okay.
Now, kum, that's Hebrew. Kum in the Hebrew means to rise. Ba or bo means to come. And Yah is the name of the Most High. So how could why do a bunch of slaves know Hebrew when they couldn't even read at that point in time? They weren't even allowed to read and write, but they singing songs in Hebrew. And then all you gotta do is look at the rest of the lyrics of the song. Somebody's dying, my Lord, kumbaya, rise, come, Yah. Our ancestors were singing for deliverance, calling on the Most High. So these are things that our ancestors brought over here with us, and it's ways we can prove and link back that we are Israelites by and large.
All right, so I could respond to a couple of those things. I'll save that what you just said for last. So traditions, you say, in West Africa linked to being Hebrew or Israelites,
Yeah.
but we have to understand this. Like the Portuguese were in West Africa before most Europeans,
Right.
and these Portuguese particularly were what you would probably call so-called Jews or small hats or what I would call 2939s. You know what I'm
Hey, we
saying?
was just talking about that 2939. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Remember, they went there and they conquered too.
So,
And
hey, are you saying that these were the Portuguese Jews that conquered West Africa?
they were the first of the Europeans to go there. The Arabs was already there, as you know, because that's why you know that they was practicing Islam at a
Yeah,
particular
'cause
time.
where did the Portuguese? Who conquered the Portuguese that gave them their culture? What happened between 711 and 1492? That
Okay, so
gave
you're
them.
talking about the Moors and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Also, what year did they conquer?
They
Um,
came. They came. Well, actually, okay. So, was that 1491 when Granada was taken down?
yeah, but you know they started going. The Portuguese started going to West Africa before, around like 1441, which is why they were.
Maybe even late 1300s. Maybe.
Yeah, which is to your point, they were among the first of the Europeans to go down into West Africa.
Right. So
But
so what I'm saying is it's possible. First of all, two things are possible. Number one, they could have passed some of their Yiddishness down there.
yeah,
You got to get this
so
book.
Hold up.
Okay? Check this book out. The Complete Dead Sea Scrolls of English. Right.
Okay, and then here's another thing that could be possible.
Okay. I'm listening.
all right.
And I could even like reference biblical laws even to tie this in.
Okay.
And not biblical laws like to prove it, but just like to kind of like from perspective and narrative, like it's, you know what I'm saying. So like they could have seen some things that they wanted to say was like it was Jewish or whatever, but it wouldn't have to necessarily be that, because if you think about it, these cats got everything from us anyway. So when I read the Bible and I hear something like the Lord has told me not to eat these things. Let's, you know, Leviticus 11:7, don't eat shrimp and pork and all that stuff, right? And they're saying the Lord has told them this. So for me, that's white folks saying that they learned from us. It's not our people saying that. It's them saying they learned from us. Like, hey, the Lord, we were the lords to them. We were the gods to them. Hold up.
Okay.
So, and think about it. If we were in a land of abundance, we wouldn't have to look under a rock for some nasty bottom feeder to eat. They would have to do that because they were from the caves of Europe and they were starving to death and they had to eat anything they could eat. They didn't even know how to farm. Feel me? So yeah, they would probably have to look under a rock and, oh, look at that crab, look at that lobster, look at that whatever, and eat it. You know what I'm saying? So and then look at it like this too. The laws and commandments. Thou shalt not. Thou shalt not.
Okay.
Look, man. Who would have you didn't have to teach us. Who's the one that needs to know you're not supposed to murder? Who really needs to know you're not supposed to rape and steal from your neighbors and stuff like that? They need to know that. So if anything, that was their perspective of telling them what we taught them. You don't have to eat this nasty food. You can't just be killing, running around, acting crazy. Take a bath. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that they learned from us. So to me, they took certain things. So this is me talking about how the Bible came together. They took certain principles and practices that they learned from us, and then they switched the narrative to make them, you know what I'm saying, look a certain kind of way.
So I mean, in regards to what you just said, I completely agree. It's called Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they're
or Judaism.
Let me
Judaism
real quick. So the Dead Sea, and I'm just talking about what you just said about how the Portuguese came in. The Dead Sea Scrolls, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about a period of time when the Portuguese came in after they had conquered the people that had conquered them for 700 years. And the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, they're dated before the 1st century. So if the Portuguese, how much time did the Portuguese people develop this culture of being a so-called Jew? How much time did they, because we know that there are, quote unquote, the small hats. We understand that they had a big major involvement, not just in the slave trade, but we know that they were part of the Confederate Army. We know that the small hats were in the Confederate Army.
Yes, they were. Yep.
But we also know that the Dead Sea Scrolls were found dated just before the 1st century.
Okay.
So what presence did they have before we see them as the Portuguese? Why don't we have any old paintings of them? Why is it that the older the paintings we get of people in that region get blacker and blacker people? Why is it that Simeon? Who was called nigger in the scripture? Simeon was called a nigger in the scripture, right?
Yeah, meaning the black man. That's black.
Yeah. Bro.
So also with speaking of the Dead Sea Scrolls, when did first of all, are you saying that the Portuguese Jews from the back then were Caucasian? They were not melanated people? Is that what you're insinuating?
Yeah. The ones that came over to West Africa and started with the shenanigans? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you're saying that are you familiar with the Spanish Inquisition?
Yeah.
So you know that with the Moors were basically exiled out of Spain and Portugal, Spanish Inquisition,
Yeah,
and
once they got yeah.
this was brought on by the church, right, by the Christians, by the Pope. But it was the Pope who it was Pope Alexander the sixth that initiated the doctrine of discovery. You know what the doctrine of discovery is?
Is that when they started with the manifest destiny from Europe? Basically
So
going and conquering those who weren't
that,
Christian could be slaves?
yeah, that weren't Christian and that weren't white, and they go conquer. So that's when you have an influx of the Portuguese really going down into West Africa. Like they started with like Cape Verde, the Sao Tome Islands, and all that, and then further inland into the coast of Africa. But the thing is, with the Spanish Inquisition, they were forcing the Jews to become Christian, and if the Jews did not want to set aside the Torah to be Christian, then their children from the ages 12 and down were taken from them and sent as prisoners to the Sao Tome Islands into off the coast of West Africa. And then they were later as slaves, and then they were later mixed and bred with people in like from like Angola in the mainland. So you telling me that these were white people that enslaved white people and took the children of white people and sent them down to Africa to breed with black
No,
Africans.
nah, I'm not saying that.
Oh,
What I'm saying is that the ones that came from Portugal into the west coast of Africa and started setting up shop in the slave trade were white folks that came to West Africa
right.
and
And,
gaffled up
and they
black
were white
slaves.
Jews. So the white Jews were enslaving the black Jews.
White, if you say
Yeah,
you call them Jews, I don't call them Jews. I don't call the black ones Jews. I call them they. I mean, because Jews are religion.
But
It's not a
no,
bloodline.
that's not true.
The Jew,
What do
it's
you
not a
call,
bloodline. What's your nationality?
I'm an Israelite. What do you call somebody who descends from the tribe of Judah?
A Judite, I guess.
Which would be a Jew.
Right, but
That's
that
where
doesn't.
that's
But
where
that's not a.
that's
That's
where
but that's not a nationality. That's you know what I'm saying.
you said
A
it's not a
nationality is where you're born. That
blood.
would be a bloodline. Then that would be a descendant. If that's what you believe,
I feel
I would contest that he didn't never exist.
But I feel you. I feel you. But you got millions of people in Africa who you gotta argue with because they say they descend from Judah or they say they descend from the
Where
tribe of Dan. You got like man,
where
have you ever heard of Eldad Hadani?
is it? That the dude that came from Chicago to went to Israel?
No,
No.
man. Eldad Hadani was he's from the tribe of Dan. Admittedly, from the tribe of Dan, and he went in Africa and found out that there were other Israelites there in Africa. When speaking of the Portuguese, when they came to West Africa, they noticed that these people were keeping the customs of the Israelites, of the Jews. So if the Jews never existed, how do they know what to compare one group of people to
I'm not
and
saying
call
Jews
them
never existed. I'm saying Jews are religion
a fam?
and not a
So
bloodline,
based upon what?
based on the fact that it's a religion. It's a practice.
Oh,
There's no like genetic marker for to say that you're Jew.
okay, so what about an Israelite?
Same thing.
What's the difference between the Jew and the Israelite?
I don't know. Verbiage.
No.
Like, what
The
would you say it
Israelite,
is? You're saying you would say, okay. Let me guess.
all Jews.
Jews come from Judah. Israelites are born or can come from the other tribes and or
So Israelites are those who descend from Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. That
okay.
would include the tribe
Jew.
of Judah, who would be Jews.
So
So
okay. So in other words, it'd be an expansion of. It wouldn't be specifically Jews. Jews would be one particular group.
of
Jews
Israelites,
would be Israelites, but all Israelites aren't Jews.
correct. So so you're saying to be a Jew is a religion. So to
Hmm.
descend from one tribe, one man, Judah, in his tribe, in his clan, that's a religion. But what about the other 11 uh, patriarchs? Is that the religion of descending from that one patriarch Judah? I'm trying to show you the flaw in that understanding.
I mean, even for me to make this argument, I have to almost concede the fact that any of these people existed. So I'm at a handicap.
Okay, so
Just to have the conversation, I got to bring it down to the
so,
handicap level because I got to first believe that any of these people existed without
oh,
any kind of proof.
Here's my question. So we have literal documents from the people that wrote these documents. They literally have an entire calendar and they talk about the Sabbath. They say all of the things that line up with the scripture in these documents found in the cave of Qumran. We
Okay.
have all of them. They call themselves Israelites. They say that they're different tribes like Naphtali and Levi. They have different customs based on whether or not a person is a Levite. How can you say
and
these people didn't exist?
right. So and it's not just West Africans again.
Okay, but
There,
when was that document originating from?
what document?
The
The,
Dead
What-
Sea
the
what-
Dead
Scrolls?
Sea Scrolls?
Whatever you're saying that these people claim to be this and that.
Are you asking when the Dead Sea Scrolls were found or when they were written?
So what you're saying, what you're talking about right now is from the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Correct.
Yeah.
This is the Dead Sea Scrolls in English by it's compiled by Hamzah Vernon.
And those are the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's not just like somebody speaking about the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I don't know if you can see this, but it lists every source. It tells you exactly which paper it came from that they found, and there's different scrolls that they recorded. They translated each of those scrolls that they found. They even talk a little bit about the Book of Enoch and the Book of the Giants.
So it's basically what he has is a compilation of the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found translated in English. So we know that the what was it? The 1940s?
When was it found?
With the I believe the Dead Sea Scroll, I have to look it up, double check, but I believe the Dead Sea Scroll, check that for me, were found in like the 1940s or something like that. That's when they were found. These things are at least hundreds of years old though. So with your line of logic, where you were saying you're talking about people subscribing to a religion, and these people being the white Portuguese Jews, as you believe, you have to say that
And Spanish.
and Spanish Jews.
Mhm.
You would have to say you would have to concede that those people were in the Middle East.
They were found,
And they came in the white Spanish and Portuguese Jews came from the Middle East and traveled to Spain and Portugal and settled there. Is that what you believe?
I'm saying yes. The white Spanish and Portuguese Jews came to Africa, set up shop with some slave traders, be they Arab or coon-ass Negroes working for the Arabs, and they started participating in the trading of slaves.
And,
Yes.
and what's your evidence that white Spanish and Portuguese Jews had ever had come from the Middle East? Where do we see that?
I didn't say they came from the Middle East. I said they came from Spain and Portugal. Portugal.
Okay, but these are people who you're according to you, their religion is based off of this text that were found in the Qumran caves in the Middle East, which means they would have had to have been there prior to being in Spain and Portugal.
I mean, yeah, there was white folks in the Middle East before. I mean, they did conquer Egypt for one. They did conquer Israel, as you guys would say.
What white folks though? The Spanish and Portugal,
They're white people, yes. Spanish and Portuguese are Europeans, yes,
Right. Are all Europeans the same?
yes,
Are all black people the same?
no.
Fam, come on, man. So are all East Asians the same?
Like when you say the same, what do you mean by the same?
Are they all the same people?
Like they have different tribes and sub tribes. Well, I'm saying that all Europeans are the same. I'm saying as far as being on code with white supremacy and dominating darker nations, yes. I'm not saying every single one, but as far as
I'm talking about people group, fam, because
That's
not
it,
all white people.
national group.
So what you?
yeah, no, they're not all the same nationality. No, of course
Right.
not.
So that's what I'm saying, man. This is not a religion. You water it down to being a religion, but it's really a culture. And we both know that religious practices are just one thing that makes up a culture.
Right.
So what is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is what's in the Old Testament and Torah, is culture. This is how we were saying we can connect certain people groups of Africa with us because we come from them because they share the same culture that is outlined in the Torah. For example, a diet, style of dress. Now, any one of them things could just be anything, right? But when you
Right.
put them all together, you have just identified a particular culture, style of dress, diet, the way you worship your deity, and then well, I guess you could throw language in there, but that's kind of different. But even then, with language, all of that is a particular culture, and there for many years have been found certain people, because not every people, but certain people of Africa, other people would have observed them and linked them to the culture that is outlined in Torah, and also these people themselves link themselves by their oral tradition to the culture that are in Torah.
Also,
Oh, do you know about the Limba Jews? Have you ever heard of them?
Aren't they in South Africa?
Yeah, Zimbabwe, South Africa, that area.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who claimed them being Jews? Them or white people?
I think
At first,
both. I think both.
both. Now the Limber was darker than you, bro. For the most part, and they were saying that they're Jews. They have their migration pattern, a part of their oral traditions.
They're
Talking
saying they're
about-
Jews.
Yes, they're
That's
saying they're Jews. They say they're from the Southern Kingdom.
They didn't say Yahuda. They said Jews.
They said in English they said they're Jews, man. So they said they're from the Southern Kingdom of Judea, which also people classify one to be a Jew from Judea or if you're from the tribe of Judah.
also,
They have their migration pattern coming down from Yemen, going down the eastern coast of Africa until they settled in Zimbabwe, and they fought with the small hats, and the small hats had to admit that they were in fact Israelites and that they are in fact Jews, and they were making this claim before any of the small hats even they got on the small hats radar because they was making the claim and doing things that people observed. But it's funny you talk about there's no DNA marker. That's a part of how the small hats confirmed that they were Jews. They said they had the
So then what was the control study? What was the control subject that they took the DNA from?
so fam.
Did they take it from Aaron?
Look.
Did they
No,
take it from Jacob? Did they take it from Judah? They take Jesus? Who? Where did it come from?
clearly they didn't.
Right.
But what I'm telling you is
So if they didn't, then how can you confirm with DNA? Is what I'm saying.
It's interesting that you brought that up because that's a part of how they say they verified it.
They do lie.
to go back to your
They do lie though. You
They
know that,
do.
right?
to
Okay,
go
go
back
ahead.
to your question, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1947, between 47 and 56.
Okay.
Also, Revelations 2 and 9 says that I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, and I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews that are not. We know that even in that time there was a presence of a people who were saying they were Jews that the real Jews knew were not actually Jews.
And what time are you speaking of?
At the time that this was written, this was Yeshua, Jesus talking.
So that would be what, the year zero? Like year 20 or something?
You know, we don't know exactly when, but we know that it was written. I mean, the papers are there.
The thing is, though, but like I said, even to take that as an actual source, you would have to believe that it was. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Okay.
don't have there's hold up, like we know that the Bible was written in 1611,
Okay.
right, or composed.
The Bible,
We don't, but
It
we're
wasn't written
the
in
Bible was not written
1611.
in 1611.
okay,
It
the
was translated in 16.
the version that we know of was
That by King James it was translated in 1611. There were
Right.
many versions, many
right.
compilations.
And we
Tisdale, Gutelsberg, yeah.
have all the original manuscripts.
Yeah.
I've never seen them.
Manuscript. We have
No, I'm saying like, is there somewhere like where do they have it? Like, hey, this is actually what the Book of Moses came from, and here's the papyri or the clay whatever's. We don't got that. You know what I'm saying? We don't got that.
have that.
So for all we know, this dude could. For all we know, they could have made all that shit up in the year 1500, get it mass produced in 1600, and put it out there.
Heru.
Huh?
Do you subscribe to the Empetet Heru, the Egyptian Book of the Dead? You read
Well,
that?
that's because we got, you could see an actual I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to it as it being literal truth. Hold up. I don't
Oh,
subscribe to it as being literal
oh, is
truth.
it real?
I don't subscribe to it as being literal truth.
Oh no, we know it's
No,
not real. We know
we're
it's not
just
true.
we're just talking about a
What I'm saying is there's books, there's things on stone that has been there for thousands of years. So we know it existed at least for that long. When it comes to the Bible, we have to assume that it existed before they printed it.
You understand that that's exactly what the Dead Sea Scrolls are. It's
Then why ain't they in the Bible then?
what?
Are they in the Bible? Are the Dead Sea Scrolls? Are they?
Damn, that's what the Bible. That's what the Bible was
It's
translated.
translated groups of those.
So you're hold on. You're saying the Dead Sea Scrolls is the books of the Bible,
They
or they're part of the books of the Bible? You're gonna say.
Fam, what? Yes, fam. And then you have other ancient writings like the Masoretic text, and then these were different things. You got the Greek Septuagint, but you have these different things or what they use to compile what we know of as the Bible.
Hold on. So you're saying, so what books specifically can you say came out of the Dead Sea Scroll?
I got you. Not a bull.
Okay.
So there's different scrolls.
You got the Isaiah scroll.
And you said that these scrolls originated in about the year 1 BC or 1 BC or 1?
Man, no. They were.
That's what you said. Let's look this up. Let's do some Google research. Let's do some Google research.
History of the community. Let's keep going.
Books that
You have concordance about all that?
Okay, what?
Appendix or concordance
Oh,
or
yeah.
something? That'd be fascinating.
Because some people would say that Dead Sea Scrolls were fabricated
Some people would say a lot of
and
things.
basically placed there as a way to try to verify. I'm not saying it's
Yeah,
true. I'm saying.
How you prove that?
How you prove it? How you prove they're fabricated? Can you prove the epithet Heru is fabricated?
Okay, hold on.
Dang.
Can I prove it's fabricated? I wouldn't even say it was fabricated. I'd say that it's not
That's you, bro.
fabricated.
I'm just saying. You
But
said
I'm sure
people
some
think-
people. But I'm sure some people. No, I'm saying I would say that.
People would say that.
Here's what I'm saying though. And look,
Some people say the world flat. Some people say we live in the heliocentric solar system. Some people say a lot of stuff, bro. Like
some people
that
say the
doesn't
Earth is
mean
flat.
anything. Some people say
Some
that.
people say the Earth is flat.
Yeah, some people, is that a false statement? Do some people say that? My
Some
point
people
is,
say that.
what some people say doesn't bring any validity to a subject.
Okay. So then that would be then you'd have to use keep that same energy for saying that some people say that they was from the tribe of Judah
I understand.
in South Africa somewhere.
I understand that, but they didn't say they were from the tribe of Judah. Remember, said they're from the tribe of Levi, but they were in the southern kingdom. You make them Jews.
Okay.
You still looking for that, bro?
All right, I'm just trying to see a reference to like when these Dead Sea Scrolls were supposedly written.
So the Dead Sea Scrolls has. So the thing is with the Dead Sea Scrolls is that it's a lot of scrolls now. Some of them are broken up by different names that we find in the Bible. Some of them are not included in the canonical versions of the Bible. But we have the Book of Numbers, Obadiah. We have Kings. We have a lot of different kind of things. We have information about what this is translated to be as Palestine. We have the books of the prophets, proselytes, book of Proverbs, Psalms. It's all found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is a good book. It tells you every single source. It tells you which scroll was found. It tells you what stuff is redacted, what stuff is not in there that they had to put filler information in for. It tells you all of that. It gives you the exact translation.
Okay, some of it was written in Aramaic.
Yes,
Yes.
some of it is written in Arabic.
That's interesting. Okay, some of it
So
was from Greek.
the source I found, imj.org.il, says they are approximately 2,000 years old, dating from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE. So it's over out of everything that was found in the Qumran caves, those writings range from 3rd century BCE to the 1st century
Now, mind you,
CE.
Okay.
there's
So
complex information found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The calendar system is crazy. If you just look at the calendar system, you can see that this is something that's been developed over extremely long periods of time. You even go in and this I guess doesn't help our case, but they start going into things like what's the stuff with the stars and the zodiac astrology. They even started dipping and dabbing in astrology and they recorded it. Now we don't support that. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We understand though that the Israelites had a culture and a history.
why not though?
Understanding the Most High. Well, the thing is that if we're talking about the zodiac as a calendar, sure.
Yeah,
But
we just don't worship the luminary,
Right.
We don't celestial bodies.
We don't use it for a measure of fortune telling.
Right.
We don't have any problem with the idea that it's used as a calendar. That's what the zodiac is. It's a calendar.
It's calendar, timekeeping. So there's no we don't contest that.
All right. So these documents were created about 2,000 years ago,
That is when they're known to have
approximately.
Yeah,
So then, when was Moses doing this thing?
When was Moses doing his thing?
If you had to put a year on it, would it be before the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Oh, yeah, much far before the Dead Sea Scrolls.
because
So hold on. So if it was far before the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Dead Sea Scrolls don't pop up till the year 1 BC ish, that means there's thousands of years before that. So it could have been fabricated then. Like how could they say that these people wrote it if they didn't even find if the date only goes back to the year 1 and Moses should have been the year like 1300 BC?
Not even that, fam. So, you got kids?
Yeah.
Okay, you got kids.
Mhm.
So your kids want to do a biography on your life.
Right.
They don't do it until like 50 years from now.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll still be alive 50 years from now. But I hear what you're saying.
What'd you say?
I'll still be here in 50 years, but I know what you're saying.
It don't have nothing to do with that. Let's say you have grandkids. Let's say you have grandkids, and 80 years from now.
So they do it in retrospect, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. After you gone,
Mm-hmm.
and they wrote everything that you told your kids, and your kids told everything you told them to their kids, and that's when they wrote it down. Just because they wrote it,
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
sometime after you've been gone doesn't mean or doesn't necessarily make it plausible that they were incorrect or that they lied about something.
All right, that's a good argument. Yeah, you guys is good, man. I gotta give it to you.
we know.
I gotta give it to you.
Yeah,
You guys are good.
So one thing, unless you want to stay on this, I kind of want to shift a little bit.
You can go wherever you want.
A little bit what you were saying. What do you think? What's best for our people? And as far as that,
As far as like spiritually,
yeah, we can say spiritually or just for our people to rise. Black people, and I'll just be general with it. For black people to rise, economically, spiritually, mentally, all of that. What's best for us, and what do you feel about the Bible's role in the rise of black people? How you
I don't think the Bible has to have a role. Now, if some people want it to have a role, that's cool. But some of the things that we're going to have to do are going to be practical. That's going to be not regardless of the Bible or not. Like, we have to get economically sound. We have to spend money with each other, like we did Black Wall Street, like we did before, you know what I'm saying, when we had no choice, and like we did before European conquest. We have to do practical things as far as, like, if we're going to be here in North America, then we got to get a sense of community again. We got to spend money. We got to have a code that we go by, that we don't do each other in a certain kind of way. And if you want to extract that from the Bible, cool. We have to be politically educated. We have to be self-sufficient and be able to grow food, build homes, have shelter, you know what I'm saying? Feed ourselves. We have to have all these different things to really be on a level and we have to have partnerships and alliances. We have to have a way to protect ourselves. We have to do all the kind of organic things that we're really doing that we already have the capability to do, but we have to focus it towards an actual goal. We have to have an agenda. We have to have a what do you call that? Not an objective, right? So if our objective is to be free, to be liberated, to be self-sufficient, to be self-autonomous, then whatever way you decide to participate and contribute to that is cool with me. Whether it's Bible based, whether it's Quran based, whatever. Because there's not going to be enough praying or believing that's going to get us out the system. No, like you can't have it like just because we all believe in the Bible doesn't mean that that's going to change our reality. You know what I'm saying? Correct. Now, if we live in a certain type of way, with or without the Bible, we can get there.
Now, what if we all live what the Bible teaches and apply what the Bible teaches?
Some of it, I mean, a lot of it is good in principle.
Why
doesn't mean it's exclusive to the. It doesn't mean it's exclusive to the Bible. Like the principles of the Bible. That doesn't mean that they're just from the Bible. Like people had certain ways of living before the Bible was written. The Bible writ what they seen. You know what I'm saying?
So I get that. Nobody's saying that these ideas in the Bible only came up with were brought about by Israelites. You know, the Israelites didn't live in a vacuum. There's a reason why there's a term coined ancient Near Eastern culture. This is something that a lot of people groups did. A lot of these things. You know what I'm saying? So by no means are we saying that just because it's in the Bible, that means it was the first and the Israelites were the only people doing it. Like that. That'd be foolish.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So,
man, you were talking. I don't mean to interject, but you were talking about prayer, and we know that in the story of Abraham in Genesis, you know, the Lord told him, not so to speak, but the Lord told him that he was going to have his own land. His descendants were going to be a great nation. But we also know that he got his ass up and he went to go buy land. So, you know, we have to try our best to model ourselves after that. We know that just because when the Lord promised the people of Israel in the scripture, we know that they had to get their asses up and go do something about it.
Okay.
They couldn't just sit around and wait. They had to go do something.
Man, okay. I mean, it's like let's just say, if you don't work, you don't eat.
Okay, so from that type of perspective, I would say you guys is definitely more practical and grounded than a lot of the Israelites that represent you guys.
Man,
it's not all about ism though. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people want to get spooky and supernatural and stuff.
Right.
And, the Most High operates in the realm of practicality. Most High himself is practical. You know what I'm saying? This is where all knowledge and wisdom comes from.
Okay, but we still have to contest with this fact.
Okay.
That the Bible as we know it came from England.
What do you mean the Bible as we know it?
You guys use the 1611 King James Version?
I do comparative text and translations. I also go into the Hebrew and the Greek.
Okay.
The Hebrew and the Greek didn't come from England.
No, but I'm saying that Bible though was commissioned by King James. So no, here's what I'm saying though. Let me finish.
There are translations
right
that are not quite accurate. Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
We know that there are. I won't say plenty, but we know that there are portions of scripture or sections of scripture or verses more specifically that are just flat out added in, like the Johannine comma. We know that.
Yeah.
But what we also
then we can't trust it.
What did you say?
Then how can you trust it?
So because what we also know is that there are direct manuscripts where you can go in for yourself and see what's really there and what's not.
Exactly. So
we know already.
The onus is on the individual.
And I'll give you an example. In the scripture, it says what? This is an example we use all the time. In the scripture, there is, what's the word? What's the scripture? You know what I'm talking about. The word for do not speak the names of other gods. This is written in the law, right? But when you go into the Hebrew, it doesn't say speak, it says zekah. So I grew up Muslim, like with the Arabs, not NOI. I grew up like Muslim with the Arabs, speaking Arabic. And they have a word in Arabic this word is zikr. And we know that Hebrew and Arabic is a similar language group. So when you compare Zekr to Dhikr, the word is not speak, the word is invoke.
Mm.
You're not
Okay.
supposed to say the names of other gods in a way of worship.
Yeah, or to call upon
Right.
these other gods, i.e., to pray to them
Right.
and try to draw power from them.
Right.
So again, I mean, these if that's the case, if you want to go with that line of logic, the King James 1611 come from England, then the
Mm-hmm.
NIV come from America, and all this and that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
These are just publications, man.
Mm-hmm.
These are when the compiled scriptures were published. You know, the Bible is the number one selling book of all time.
Right.
So it's being published and republished and all of that, fam. That
Right.
doesn't take away from its origin. That's why you got to go study
It,
the more ancient.
but it does take away. It does take away from the message and the accuracy,
Absolutely.
It does,
Absolutely.
which is why
and it takes away from the integrity.
it can, but you have to be studious. You got to study to show thyself approved, what the scriptures say, and you have to be diligent. You can't take English words from a Western mindset and think you're going to get an accurate understanding of ancient Near Eastern / Northeast African culture of melanated people from thousands of years ago.
Okay.
So
So
you gotta go to the languages, the more original languages that these were written in, and understand these people, the culture, because not even all words translate into English.
but
Not in
why?
all,
Why do we have to do all that though? Why do we have to do all
because
that?
they're the ones.
Can we not live good lives? Can we not accomplish our goals without that book?
No,
I don't think you can.
no.
Nah. Not even that we couldn't, but it's so prominently laid out in the scripture that it's like, why would we go anywhere else?
So
Because according to the Bible, I suppose,
Hmm.
and what I've heard a lot of Israelites, including yourself, say,
Hmm.
is that we fail from grace when we stop practicing our culture and our God system and
right.
things of
Right.
that nature, right?
When we stop practicing what was written in it,
That's when we fell when we fell away from God, just to make it plain, right? We
Plain,
fell
yeah.
away from God and we fell. So what was we doing before we fell away from God? As far as like let's go to the height that we can prove of existence with civilization that we
Who is we?
ruled.
What do you mean by we, fam?
The darker people of the nation.
We
The
established
darker us as who we are, black people,
fam,
however you want to identify that.
we,
When we were in our peak, what were we doing before
fam,
we fell?
you,
Because
you want to know why you can't really ask that question and get a good answer?
we're mixed of a whole bunch of different stuff because we've
Not
been
not
here for
not even
400 years
not even
and we have European last names so that we
no
can't
no
directly trace shit.
no because you're asking about the peak of black people. When have all black melanated people been at the zenith together?
Regardless, we could just take any particular. We could take any particular. You insert your own particular tribe there, and we could still ask that same question.
Damn, for one to rise, one must fall. You see what I'm saying? You got the Songhai Empire, you got the Ghana Empire, you
Right.
got the Mali Empire.
Okay.
These were not all the same people groups. So you can't be like, well, what they do in the Songhai Empire to make them peak.
Well,
And
the
then
Songhai Empire was part of Ghana, part of Mali because they switched as they battled it out, this and
yeah,
that. And then the Moroccans came and wiped them. Then the white Moroccans came and wiped them out. But they were only part of the same conquest of the Arabs that came in. Blah blah.
and
You know what I'm saying?
well, my point is they weren't the same people. So
But what I'm saying is,
people
if you want to date, I get it.
that they live by, fam. So you can't necessarily ask that question.
Well, let's try it a different way then.
You feel me?
So let's try a different way. So pre-Bible,
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 pre-Dead Sea Scrolls,
pre-Dead Sea Scrolls,
Pre-Bible compilations.
because I think that's it's
pre what we can prove are ancient manuscripts.
Okay, so before the manuscript.
So before whatever was written that said we fell because we weren't doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
We'll just put it like that.
Okay.
What were we doing in our glory? So like I'll say Egypt, for instance, Kemet. We were in our glory
Well, the
or,
thing
or we'll say those people were in their glory, and we're gonna say those people because we know that that has a direct connection to the neighboring region of Israel, and a direct connection to the Romans and Greeks who conquered. So what were we doing before we fell there? We were doing our own thing. We weren't doing Yahweh. We weren't doing all that stuff. We were like you know what I'm saying? We were doing ourselves. We were doing us. We had our own ways of life. We had our own ways of connecting with the divine, right? And then we fell. If you want to keep it real, we fell when we got introduced to all this other stuff, including the Bible, which was actually part of our conquering.
Well, we wrote the Bible, so
Right.
no, it wasn't introduced.
We did, but I say we wrote it. But here's what I'll say though. I'll say we wrote what the Bible came from.
We wrote.
Okay,
what the Bible came
so
from.
yeah.
We
okay.
wrote what it came from, and then other people observed it, wrote it down for them and their culture, reversed narratives like the Exodus in Egypt. That's a narrative that was reversed from real history that we can prove, but the narrative been reversed because they interjected themselves in it.
Yeah, go in on that.
Go ahead. What's the scholarship?
Because we know in history in Egypt there was a time where outsiders
Okay.
came in, usurped power. Hold up, you usurp power similar to the way the small hats do.
Which outsiders? What time period are you talking about?
They want to say they're goat herders. The time I'm talking about Exodus right now, where the book of Exodus comes from.
Right.
Are you talking about the Hyksos?
Okay, Hyksos.
I'm asking you.
Are they Hyksos?
Is that
Goat herders, Hyksos, the ones from yonder.
You're introducing any people group into the conquest, the different conquests.
Here's what I'm saying.
Your main point is that you're saying that there's different groups that came in and maybe you could use the word infiltrated our original way of thinking.
I'm saying that they infiltrated particularly Kemet, right?
Our intention is that we are not Kemet. We're not Egyptian. We're not
Okay, I know, but okay, that's fine though. But I'm just saying this for the purpose of illustrating a Bible story,
okay?
Right? Because in the story of the Bible, which you believe that you don't have to believe you're a Kemet, but if you believe in the Bible, you have to believe you are in Kemet.
Okay, yeah.
At some point, right?
Right.
Okay, so what I'm saying, so from the Bible perspective, Abraham, I think, or whoever came in to Egypt, the Egyptians just enslaved them and ran amok and treated them like garbage.
Also, we didn't get the law
stuff,
until.
Hold on. You're getting ahead of me, man. Don't do that.
Go.
All right, go ahead.
So from your perspective, right, you would say, according to the Bible, was it Abraham?
Abraham went into Egypt, but
Went into Egypt.
That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about.
Are you gonna tell me what I'm talking about?
Because you mentioned slavery. Abraham never went into Egypt, and there was a slavery dealing with any of his.
Maybe not him, but it was years after he died.
You're talking about Jacob, fam. You're talking about when the 70 souls went into Egypt.
So that was Jacob that went in there.
Jacob, Joseph was already there.
Okay, let's start there then. So they went in there. The Egyptians were trying to kill them off, right? They enslaved them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then Moses rose up, blah, blah, blah. They exited out there, right? That's the biblical narrative, correct?
I mean, yeah, very general.
Vague and general, but just,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So, seeing that we can't prove that actually happened, but we do know what that happened was that there were some outsiders that went into Egypt, but those outsiders introduced homosexuality and different gods and usurped the same way these 2939 do all over the world.
So
and then hold up. Then this is actual history though.
Okay.
Then the natives of that land, after centuries or generations worth of war, were able to get them out of there. So that's the actual history that was written by not just in Kemet, but in other neighboring regions.
Where was that history written in Kemet?
That's the I think it was the Hyksos.
I figured that's where you were going.
Yeah.
But do you read the Metal Netter?
No.
So how can you verify it?
That's the same. That's like saying, how can you verify? Do you read Greek?
I can learn Greek, yeah.
I can learn the meta, so it's the same thing.
You can, but fam, I'm not saying anything off of.
So but there's also documentation like pictures that
Right,
look
but if
like
you
these
what's
people that.
called the metal letter, and if you can't read that, how are you going to verify and say what did and didn't happen?
Well, how are you going to say what happened based on some writings that was compiled by people with an agenda who hold on, with different versions that's been translated. Like there's some stuff, and there's people who do read the metadata who I would trust.
You like Zion Lex?
No.
Yeah, like
I mean like Ashwa Kwesi and the OGs that run into that stuff. I'm not Zion Lex. Come on, man. I'm not messing with that.
Oh man, no, man, look, come on now.
I mean, no disrespect to Zion Lex, but I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is historically, these things have been written to have happened, and it's been documented, and it's a general consensus because I don't speak Medunetter, I don't read it.
Okay,
so, and I can give different examples too. I got other examples that I could also bring forth. So what I'm saying is, because my point is, if a people observed us, learned from us, and we know they do this, culture, vulture, whitewash, change it up, change the narrative a certain kind of way, and they made it seem like poor them. These Egyptians did us wrong, but the Egyptians are saying, nah, these dusty cats came in from yonder and started pushing stuff that ain't cool for our culture, like homosexuality and bestiality, blah, blah, blah. So we had to get them out of there. And just so happens, that the people that fought against these Hyksos or whatever, Pharaoh Atmos, like Kamos, he had a brother, or like Moses, he had a brother, Kamos, kind of like Moses, who has a brother, Aaron, right? That fought to get these cats out. So it's like the narrative's been switched. They switched the narrative to them being invaders who usurped and did what they do, what they still do to this day. And then the people rose up against them, got them out. But they switched to like, oh, these Egyptians were doing us so wrong. And then we crossed the Red Sea and all this other stuff and got out of there.
Is the Egyptian language and the Hebrew language the same or even similar?
When was the
the actual, well, so when you say the Hebrew language, is there are you speaking Yiddish? Are you talking about the
I'm not talking about.
Okay, because if you want to talk about like what they would call Paleo Hebrew, if that's a real thing, which I think is really just Sumerian, it's related to one of the dialects of Egyptian language.
That's a spirit. So you got something called loan words. So here, I mean, here's the thing again. I mean, you don't even realize, but by way of you even saying this, you're admitting that a certain people did exist and they were in Egypt. Why are you saying that?
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. But before you was just like, well, I would have to believe that the Jews or the Israelites actually existed.
I didn't say that they were Jews or Israelites. They're called Hyksos by you said it yourself that they're Hyksos, right?
No, I asked if that's who you were talking about because we're not the Hyksos. We don't be saying from the Hyksos.
Right. So also, the Epithet Heru was written 1550 BCE. Your claim is that the homosexual tendencies or the teaching of homosexuality in Egypt came from outsiders. Well, which outsiders? Because it wasn't the white outsiders, because 1500 BCE is before the Hellen invasion, and it's before the Arab invasion. Far before. So for whoever wrote the Epithet Heru, they already had homosexual tendencies in their culture. Because we know what's in the Epithet Heru. What was you saying before?
Talking about copulating between the buttocks and all that stuff.
What?
You said, bro, what?
Yeah. So but you already said in conversation we ain't got no room for that type of stuff. So how are we supposed to talk from that?
Well, what about Jesus having dudes lie in his bosom and stuff?
Who said that?
And liking a brother more than any woman and shit like that. That's kind of gay.
Where's that? Show me that.
That's kind of gay.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3, go.
I mean, are you gonna explain it away and say it meant something else? You're saying that one of his dudes wasn't laying in the bosom?
I want you to show me the scripture.
And then you're gonna say it means something else.
Okay, hold on. Jesus held the man in his bosom, and he said he liked men more than women.
Hey,
something like that.
More importantly, what
show me that?
What does copulating between the buttocks mean? Something other than copulating between the buttocks?
Hey, look, look. I'm not gonna sit there and support none of that. I'm not because listen, my argument isn't that everything of Kemet is great. and there's nothing that was fucked up. I'm sure there was homosexuals there. Now, was that part of the culture to where that was something like when we look at the greatness that we look at from that culture, did they contribute to it? I'm sure there were some ancient or homosexual tribes in all over Africa. I'm sure there were some of them, but did they contribute to the culture? Are they someone that's praised and that we look at you know what I'm saying, for guidance and spiritual, you know what I'm saying, teachings is the thing. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is this, though. The point of that Kemet Hyksos Exodus situation is that they take certain things and change the narratives. Okay? I'm sure you guys don't believe that there was a J at that time, so you probably don't use the word Jesus when you speak of who you say Christ is, right?
Correct.
You'd probably agree that Jacob probably would be more like Yakub or Jacob, right? So you know that there probably wasn't somebody named Matthew, Luke, and Mark, and Jason, and Jonathan, and all that, right? So you know whoever wrote that compilation, took it, and we know Jehovah. You probably wouldn't use the word Jehovah for God either, right? So the same people who gave that book changed the most important elements of it, which is God and His Son and the prophets, and you don't think they might have dabbled on some other shit?
Fam, you.
Just answer the question.
You defend. You just saying from Africans, right?
Yeah,
What's your name? What's your government name?
it's not an African name.
What is it? What is it?
It's an English name.
It's an English name.
Yeah.
So anything that you write for our people, because the author is an English name, and you're going to be writing about people with English and European names, it should be assumed 50 years from now that this was a perpetrator and someone who meant to send off our people.
But do you translate names though?
Because what you
Are
say?
names translated?
They can.
Yao Ming is Yao Ming in China, and he's Yao Ming here in United States.
It's true, but you're talking about people. You're specifically referencing people from the New Testament who have been under Greek captivity for hundreds of years, and then Roman captivity. You know,
But still, why would they change the names though?
Decades. Who said their names was changed? Some people actually had Greek names, just like you have English names.
So the person that you say died on the cross name was Jesus? Yes or no?
I didn't say that.
But was his name Jesus? Would you say his name is Jesus?
No, his name was
So his
not.
name wasn't Jesus. So then they already put a trick in there right there.
Okay.
They changed the name of God right there.
Exactly.
Right there is enough for their integrity to be questioned at least.
Show me in the Hebrew text Jesus.
You won't find it.
You can't
How
find
many
it
names did
because,
Paul
like you
have?
said, there was no J.
Did Paul have
Right.
a Greek name and a Hebrew name?
Who?
Did Paul have a Greek name and a Hebrew name?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, he had a Hebrew name and a Greek name.
Yeah, fam. So
Okay, but the book that
just because there was a text in the Hebrew or Aramaic that got translated into Greek for Greek-speaking people, and then from that got translated into either Latin or English, doesn't take away from the validity of the context of the Bible. That's what happens. They were just translated. You said, do names get translated? Sure. My government name is Ivan. Ivan is Russian for John. John is English for wine. Names do translate. They can translate.
Okay. I'm just saying. To me, that doesn't make sense because my name is my name, right? In 100 years from now, my name is still gonna be my name. 1,000 years from now, my name is still gonna be my name. So it stands to reason that they made the names compatible for them, right? Because Mark is a European name of origin. John is a European name of origin.
We're not arguing that a group of people came in and usurped the information.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
We have no contention with the fact that Christians came in and did a mollywop of our whole situation. Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
But we're saying that the original manuscript still exists, and for whatever is confusing in the Christian translations, you can correct it if you just
Go,
study the
yes,
manuscript.
just go to the manuscript. In the beginning or earlier in this conversation, I said I do comparative text and translations. I take what's in the English and I compare it. It's very easy. You can go to the Blue Letter Bible app or Bible Hub, and if you want to just do like surface level, just do a Strong's. You know what I'm saying? Introductory to understanding the ancient languages and comparing. Do a Strong's concordance, and you'll at least get the surface of the Greek and the Hebrew that was used, and Aramaic, depending on what you read. It's not that hard, fam.
But what are most people reading though?
Most people are
What's
reading.
what's being like, you know what I'm saying? Can you read fluently a whole Bible in Hebrew?
No, but I can break down word by word.
Right, but you'd have to use an English translation to do that, right?
I speak English, so yeah, I would need it to be translated from Hebrew to English.
Right. So how many times have been translated? How many different, not just translations,
So let's
but how many? Hold on, but versions. So like what I'm saying
Yeah.
is you're getting a source that's been extracted. Okay, let me give you another example.
I feel you, fam.
So here's another example of them changing narratives and interjecting through observation
The origin
things that they
thing.
put in that Bible.
It's just like if you copy CDs, right? I used to rap back in the day and used to make copies of CDs. You always want your masters, right? That's why all these artists fight for their masters.
Right. But the
origin
copies
is
still
still-
don't. But the copies ain't saying nothing different.
But and the origin never changed.
But the
still-
copy ain't saying nothing different.
You still copy
If-
from the origin. The origin don't change, fam.
That's not a good argument.
Or maybe
So
it's
we
not good,
gotta
but the origin
rewind.
still don't change.
We got
Okay, but here's what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that these people observed us for real and
Yeah.
then wrote down in a way that would benefit them and also change the narrative. For instance,
sure.
Fam, we don't disagree.
who's Joseph of the Bible?
Who is Joseph?
What's his story? What's his story? Joseph, the one that stored grain and all that. Went to Egypt.
The one that was in Egypt.
Yeah, and he stored grain.
I told him in slavery and went to Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah. Had dreams and all that kind of stuff.
What about him? You down this dream?
Like there's a real person though who actually stored grains though.
You talking about Hotep, fam?
No, I'm talking about Pharaoh Joser.
Fam,
DJOSER.
just because words sound alike, then that.
Well, I'm not saying the word sounds alike. I mean, that's just a coincidence that
like,
goes along with the part that he actually provably stored grains for times of famine, and in the Bible they say that's what Joseph did.
Okay.
So either they took that from Joseph or Joseph was Pharaoh Joser.
Yeah. Pull up the meta that say that, and then let's examine.
Well, I mean that's just history. They found grain silos
Okay.
under the rule of Pharaoh Joser in Saqqara.
Okay, so explain to me.
There's been there's silos that have been found that they stored when there was famines.
There was only one famine in the history of Egypt. They
Okay.
had to do that.
Okay.
No, that's a question.
So my question is that
Because does Pharaoh Joseph have a monopoly on famines of Egypt and storing grain?
and even
No.
if your point is true, how does that help you disprove the Bible?
Right.
Well, because what I'm saying is I'm saying the Bible isn't necessary, because if they took it from sources that we can still go to right now, why would I need to hear the version of for people who obviously have an agenda, who obviously have changed stuff enough to where the names of God has been changed? If they will do all that, who knows what else they would interject? You yourself said that there were some things that was been interjected in there. You
Right.
said that they freestyled and did some plagiarism and some additions to it.
We need to stop listening to the message
Yeah.
because they did that. They made them as white as possible. That was the whole agenda they had.
I mean, but I wouldn't say the meta netter is what's going to save our existence, and without it, we cannot progress. I wouldn't say that though. I wouldn't say that everything in Egyptian spirituality is 100% true and 100% literal, and that without it we can't progress. I wouldn't say that. I would say we could extract from it some of the principles. Same with the Bible. We could extract from it, you know what I'm saying, and use it as a guiding post. And then, like I said, some people, they have to use the Bible if that makes them a better person. If they vibrate on that, like I know people who may have been killers and robbers and really was living a certain lifestyle until they found a religion. I
Right.
wouldn't tell them to give that religion up to go back to being a killer,
Right.
even though I don't agree with it. And for me, I don't think that it's necessary. But if they're vibrating on that, and you guys were speaking before, we were talking about practicalities, and you understand that it ain't just that you have to actually, like, if you're observing the Bible as this is my inspiration, and just like whoop de whoop, hey, we can't just pray about it. We got to actually go and buy that land. Now we got to go actually till that land. Not we're waiting for somebody to come from the sky and save us. No, we have the power. We really believe in this God, so we know that as we do what we have to do, He's gonna bless us for this thing to happen. If that's your perspective, then that could work. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's written in the Bible.
So
Okay, if you're really living that, then that could work.
so
But a lot of people ain't.
right. But I mean, if our people who are really our people would, it don't even matter if they are people or not. If everybody would live by the principles of the Bible, that the principles that the Bible promote, then what would go wrong? Because everything you name, as far as how we could rise as black people, is in the Bible. So I want to ask you, what source do you draw from? Where do you get your wisdom and understanding from?
Different sources. You said you're an amalgamist, and you collect information. From
What's that? I don't even. You got what is amalgamous? Because I never use that word.
I made that word up. I didn't make up the root of the word. Amalgamate means to.
But what do you mean though? What does that mean?
So
Gathering of different bits.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Do you have a
Well,
principle?
the Bible's an amalgamation,
Prove it.
right?
Prove it.
It is.
Of what?
It's a compilation of different times, different people, right? It wasn't just all written at once, right?
What do you mean?
It wasn't just all written at once, right?
No, correct. It wasn't, but it's
Or hold on. Do you mean amalgamation as a bad word? Is that why you're not trying to associate the Bible as being
man.
amalgamated?
I'm saying that I'm identifying you as someone who collects information. I was the same way. I was raised Muslim. I was a Moor.
Yeah, I used to be in the NOI. I used to be an Israelite.
Yeah, so
I'm saying that,
basically, he's saying like with the things that you've learned throughout your time on this planet, you take all the good from everywhere you come from, and positive, and to apply.
Yes, take what I could use.
I definitely would not do that to you, for real. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I might joke and play and troll with it, but I would. You're my brother now.
No, we good. We good.
But I like this dialogue, man.
And I think, and you guys came a little bit different than I expected.
Yeah, you thought you were gonna be chumps out here.
No, I didn't think it would be chunks, but I you know what I'm saying? The practicality part for me, you know what I'm saying? So
like, everything ain't all spookism. So is there a strong spiritual aspect to our culture? Most definitely.
Always been
You know what
happening.
I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
But all that Jesus was born of a virgin, that's not the Bible. We don't
Yeah,
know
man.
that.
Like,
That
so a lot of people still follow Christianity. We do not follow it, and that's why I understand what you're saying. And when I ask you certain things, you know, they for a particular reason, because I just try to get through to see. Because I agree with you. People hijacked what our people came up with, and those people are the European Christians and European Jewish people. And they took that and, like, you know, like you said, they studied us, they took what was good, they got the understanding, and guess what? They flipped it and reversed it on us and used it to oppress us. But that only worked because we stopped following those principles. The reason why, like, so what I was trying to get to when you talking about we as black people, it's different black people, fam. You had the cats in ancient Kemet that was beefing with the Nubians.
Yeah.
They black people, so that's why I'm saying, what do you mean by when we were at our height? Because there was a time when Nubia was at its height and Kemet wasn't. They weren't working together to all be one superior black race.
But the same question can apply. So what was Nubia doing at their height?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
They weren't following the Bible.
No, the Nubians, the Cushites were following their God.
Right.
And what was outlined by their God. We as Israelites are telling our people that we need to get back to following our God. Everybody don't have the same God. The Israelites, we have our own God. That is Yahweh, the Most High.
So how come we can't find any proof of any of these people, or any proof of it, or any like kingdom or civilization where we could be like, yeah, that's what we was, look at that, what we built, look what we did? Because you would think that people as great as Moses, Jesus, Abraham, they would have something that some type of physical legacy that they leave behind that we'd be able to identify. Like, they built a church, or this big building they built, or this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing like that. There's no bodies. There's none of that.
So here's my
How
question.
how would you explain that as
So,
taking it as these are literal people who existed, unless those are really people who existed that were observed, like Pharaoh Zoser, and then transformed into Joseph later, or Akhenaten being transformed into Abraham, or you know what I'm saying?
so when the Hellenes came in and invaded Egypt, they burnt down a great library. What was the name of that library?
Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria.
As much information as we have about Kemet today, how much more do you think we would have if we still had the Library of Alexandria?
Probably a lot.
Probably a lot. And so when they came in and invaded in 70 AD in Jerusalem, and they destroyed the temple, how many scrolls, of all the scrolls and such that we have today, how many scrolls and information do you think? Because in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have a calendar. So how much information do you think we would have if they never burned down the temple?
This is why we don't
But
have.
there was already a calendar thousands of years before the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Absolutely. That's why we still have it today. I'm talking about all of the other information and records. There's plenty of other. We have what was the book Black Genesis. They talk about Naphtaliah. That we still have Egypt's calendar. It's the same situation. And so we still have that because they couldn't get to that. Not everything was destroyed, but a lot of pertinent information that we will never know about was.
But how come none of it survived though? No, like structures, no bodies. We found bodies of people thousands of years before the Bible. We can't find none of these people. Enoch was taken up into the heavens. Moses never made it to the promised land. Jesus was taken up to the like everybody just don't exist.
I got a question for you. If
Yeah.
you found if you went to the land of Israel today and found a body that was 3,000 years old, how would you know if it was Moses or not?
Because you would think it'd be buried somewhere that would mark who he was, right?
No, according to the Bible, nobody know where Moses was buried. But this
Well, they know where. Well, they know where what Abraham was buried in a cave.
Abraham, Joseph.
They said he was in a cave. They specifically said in the book of Joshua where he should be at, right?
Well, the book of Joshua ain't like everybody don't regard the book of Joshua.
Do you regard it?
No.
You shouldn't. I'm glad you didn't, because that was
Joshua,
going to be a setup right there.
The book of Joshua, the book of Jubilees, and the book of Enoch, I don't regard.
I was
Okay.
just talking about in the Dead Sea Scrolls today. It's 4.5 pages of the Dead Sea Scrolls chopped up. That's all of it.
But isn't the book of hold up? Isn't the book of Joshua referenced in the Bible?
Enoch.
Oh, what did I say?
You said the book
Didn't the book of Joshua? Isn't the book of Joshua referenced in the Bible?
I said the book of Enoch.
Yeah, the book of Joshua is referenced, but that doesn't mean that the book of Joshua that is out now is that book that was referenced.
So the point I'm making is
Just like Enoch. Enoch is the person that was referenced in the Bible, and now we're talking about the book of Enoch now. Like you said, go ahead
a
on your
lot,
point
a
with
lot
that.
of the information in the book of Enoch is clearly made up. Because what you see in the Dead Sea Scrolls is only 4.5 pages, and only 2 of those are the Dead Sea Scrolls. The other one is the Book of the Giants. So however we got a whole book about Enoch, I don't know how we got it.
Yeah.
Right.
None of that is in
Like that stuff fabricated. But
So we know that. So we do both agree that these people fabricate shit, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
So
Yeah, fam. Like we not.
so since they're the ones who introduced
they didn't.
They who said they entered?
the Bible, they did because
They gave us a slave.
they mass duplicated it. It wasn't mass duplicated until the printing press came out. So they introduced it. You don't know of the Bible because of the actual original manuscripts. You know of it because of the reproduction, translation, and version that was spread amongst Europe and America.
Okay, so
It was introduced to you from that.
with that introduction with these Europeans, and I'm going back to this subject, with these Europeans
Man.
bringing their versions
One
of the Bible.
We only got a few more minutes.
Yeah, we do, because I got to get...
So go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, with the Europeans bringing this Bible with them and their understanding of the Bible, that's what really is the key. Not
Okay.
necessarily the Bible, but their understanding and their interpretation and twist that they put on the Bible.
Okay.
So they brought that with them to Africa and was like, hey, This looked like what Moses and Aaron was doing. This looked like what the what the Levites was doing. So, and I, you know what I'm saying? I say that to say, uh, um, we were already living that again. To restate that, we were already living what was in the Bible.
Hmm.
Different people in West Africa, Central Africa, even Southern Africa, we were already living these cultures fragmented. We mixed with other people groups and whatever, so we took on some other things and let go of some things. Nobody was living this culture, the Torah to a T. But
Okay.
even the Europeans, or like I said, Eldad Hadani and other people who observed people could see the clear parallel.
So would it be more accurate to say that we were living what's in the Bible, or the Bible was written based on how we were living?
No,
Right.
the Europeans got the
So
Bible.
maybe we were exactly. So if we were doing certain things and they observed it and wrote it down, they made a Bible from what we were doing.
How did the Europeans colonize Africa? With the Bible. That's part of
It
that's part of how they
that's part
colonized.
of it. Yeah.
Right. But
But
when they
also with guns and shit.
so they already had
Also
the
with guns and making the same way
oh
that
yeah. So but
house niggas.
the deception, yeah, these are all tactics and stuff. They got in there, and I could tell you about the Congolese. You had what was it, King Alfonso the First or whatever.
Leopold.
No, King Leopold was Belgium,
Oh no, yeah, Belgium, but they conquered Congo though.
yeah, the Belgium conquered Congo.
Yeah.
But King Leopold was like, don't try to teach them about God. They already know. They seen that you had these tribes in
Right.
Congo, like the Luba people. You
Just
know
because he
what
said we knew God, that doesn't mean he was saying that we knew the Bible. That's not the same. They're not like there's God.
they found they only knew it because they had read the Bible. Then they came and seen people who were already living the Bible. They had to read this information to be able to recognize it when they saw it, which
Right.
means they didn't see it, then write it down.
But those who did wrote it was observing what they saw, is my point.
Fam,
So they saw things that we were
no,
doing, and then
no,
they took the game, and like they should have did, they made it work for them, which means that
fam,
they had to change
no.
some things.
Let me read you an excerpt.
So I'm not saying, I'll let you read that in a minute though, but so I'm not saying that there's nothing in the Bible that's good and that could work for us. What I'm saying is it's not exclusive to the Bible, and it was written based on things that we were actually doing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
even without it, we can go to the source, or even without it, it's already in us. We already knew you can't just go run amok, killing people and stealing and all that. We knew that. They're the ones that didn't know that.
everybody didn't have.
They
Everybody
didn't know that.
understand it, fam.
We had
Everybody,
civilization though, so we did. We at some point we
everybody,
got to that understanding, and not maybe not monolithically,
African pygmy.
maybe not monolithically, because there's still cats in Africa that live in the bush with bones in their nose.
Yeah,
You know
fam,
what I'm saying? So
that's a part of their civilization.
yeah, they do what they do.
But you talking about we had civilization? Never mind. I didn't even want to go there. But fam, go ahead.
So this was our mindset in the time of this excerpt. This is from the Qumran Cave, which is Cave 4, section 508, FRICFI234. That's the source for it if you want to look it up. To grow fat thanks to the clouds of heaven and the produce of the land, to distinguish the righteous from the wicked. And thou shalt make of the wicked our expiation, and by the upright thou shalt destroy all our oppressors. So their mindset in that time was kill our enemies and raise up our land. It's not until we get the bastardization and the perversion of the Christian translation that we start to think that the Bible is just some weird book about loving our enemies and loving each other. That's not what the Bible is talking about.
But it is in there.
No, it's not. It's not in the. You can't find that at all in the Bible that's talking about any nation other than our own people, the Israelites. Jesus literally called a woman a dog because she wasn't an Israelite. He called her a dog because she was not an Israelite. He asked for help because her daughter was overtaken by a demon. She was possessed. That's the translation that's used.
What about obey your slaves, obey your masters, slaves, like their God?
Where's that at? Can you show that?
It doesn't say that in the Bible nowhere. Nowhere in the Bible it says slaves obey your master. Is it in there?
Let's look it up and see what the context is.
Yeah. Slaves obey your master. Master. Here we go. Obey your earthly masters with respect and fear and the sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ.
Yeah. Second, that word master is used to mean the ruler.
Well, it says obey them like they're Christ.
Hold on.
It's Ephesians 6 and 5. And then there's also one in Colossians. Was that Colossians? Servants obey all things. Yeah, same thing. Pretty much. So you're going to say it doesn't really mean that? Or what? You're going to say it really means
You're bringing up
respect your supervisor at work?
Easy. Let's go to Ephesians 6 and 5. That's one of the ones they flip.
Flipping. So if they're flipping, that's my point.
All right.
Get rid of the damn thing. If they flipping,
I didn't say flip words.
They flipping.
They flipped understanding and use it against it. So, all right. Ephesians 6, verse 5. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling and singleness of your heart, as unto Christ.
Yes.
All right. So let's go. Again, I use the Blue Letter Bible. I like it. I just read the King James Version. It's a Blue Letter Bible. Got the ESV version on this other side. I tap on this.
Bond servants.
Right. And then you go to interlinear. Tap on that. It gives you the Greek. Am I fluent in Greek? No. But it gives you the side-by-side translation.
Lower it a little bit. Read it.
My bad, fam. So it gives you side-by-side just so you can see.
I can't see it. Just read it because you have to lower the phone a little bit.
All right, my bad. So servants.
It's all good.
Servants is G1401. The Greek word doulos could be a slave, a bondman, a male servant, man's servile conditions. Metaphor, one who gives himself up to another's will. So let's see. One who gives himself up to another will, devoted to another, disregard one's own interests. Now we go back here, and then use go to the word masters, Kyrios. G2962, the Greek word is Kyrios. He to whom a person or thing belongs, about which he has power of deciding. Master, Lord. Let's see, the possessor or disposer of a thing. Long story short, one of the definitions for that servant is one who gives himself up. The most common thing that we know of today is called going to work.
Right. So obey your supervisor like he's God.
No,
I like that. Because you know what I'm saying, I'm in a position of management. So yes, I'll throw that verse right on the cake. I'll throw that right on the vision board, y'all. Listen.
First of all, fam, God to be a God just means power or someone.
Okay.
Second of all,
I'm with that.
This verse don't say to obey him like he's God, as in the Most High God.
Hold up. It says Christ though.
Christ is not the Most High God.
Well, he's the second high God.
Son, right? He's the Son, but he's not the Most High God.
Okay, I mean, but still, that's pretty high.
It is high.
He might not be the most high, but he's high.
It is high.
He's real high.
So what Paul is saying here is,
I mean, I'm with it.
Listen.
I could use it.
What Paul is saying is, when you go to work, matter of fact, read verse 6.
Look, say less, man. I'm with it. 6. You know what I'm saying? I need my team members. I need what verse? What's that? Ephesians 6. Yeah. 6, yeah. I'm taking that one.
Ephesians 6.
Let them know.
So verse 6. Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. So basically, he's saying whatever you're doing, when you're on the job, do it and you do it right. All right. So you got. So I was always told by my dad, if you're gonna do something, do it right. Do it right.
Yeah, my dad said the same thing.
You know what I'm saying? You do it right the first time, you won't have to go back and redo it. So that's what he's saying. Don't do nothing to be
showing off or just to look good. But man, you at work, you do your job correctly. If you do your job right, as if you serving Hamashiach, the Messiah, because you're representing him. If I go to work and act a fool, I'm an Israelite. I'm an Israelite. I believe in Yahushai and Hamashiach, and I do poor trash work. Then
Yeah, probably
I'm
get fired.
making who I represent look terrible, which would be Hamashiach.
Plus, you ain't gonna be able to feed your family. So
Let me
that's
ask
practical. I get it.
So it's actually written in the law that we cannot make Israelites slaves. So this is just adding context to what he was saying, backing up behind what he's saying. Leviticus 25:39-43. If one of your brothers becomes indigent, or you go to court, you can't afford to pay for the fee, they'll have you sign indigent, they'll give it to you for free. I do a lot with the courts, and when I was a Moor boy, let me stop. Anyway, indigent and has to sell himself to you, don't make him work as a slave. Treat him as a hired hand or a guest among you. He will work for you until the Jubilee, which is the year, which is like the 7th year you're supposed to let the land rest.
I'm with that.
Make it slave free.
Right. That's the indentured servitude, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
basically. So this
Which was pretty much what slavery was before these Europeans made it barbaric.
Yeah. So by no means is this saying what the colonizers and the slave masters twisted it to say.
That's what I'm saying. But that's my point, though.
So
They use it for evil, and they compiled it the same way.
They used it for it was.
They took real game that we was seasoning,
right.
and they and then they redid it, rewrote it, put some different names to identify with themselves. They took it and fugazied it. Is what I'm saying.
And that's because we stopped following the laws of the Most High, and He said that these type of things would happen to us when we start disobeying Him. But the point is, like you said, they took real game, they observed it, and then they flipped it. But game recognized game. This is how we can understand. We go here and break this down and say, yeah, that's what the slave master said, but that's not what Paul was saying.
See, I like you guys, so it's hard to really just go hard on you guys, man.
Hey, I'll tell you something, man. No dude can ever go hard on me, fam. We ain't. What's that?
Pause. You know what I'm saying? Pause. But I'm saying it's hard to have contention because plus you guys are, you're doing it different. You're doing it in a way that's actually applicable in real life. You know what I'm saying? That you could actually use. So I don't have to agree with everything you understand. But I think we could also have a different discussion at a different time and really go a little bit further into some of these things. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good conversation, man. You guys did your thing.
It's really about building, man, with our people, with our brothers.
We are African people. Look in the mirror. Yeah, there's no study behind that, bud.
Fam,
study a little bit more.
African people also are not homogenous.
Right.
So, yeah, true that.
The English hate the Irish to this day. You gonna tell him that? You gonna tell him the Irish ain't European? Religion means to bind.
I thought it meant to do something repetitious.
Yeah.
It does depend on what dictionary you're reading from.
You got a little bit more study to do, bud.
No, and don't disrespect the audience, man. Those are my folks, man.
Come on, man.
Those are my peoples, man.
Oh man, yeah, but man, appreciate you having us on here.
Yeah, for sure.
I got my baby with me. I got Garrett.
Yeah, and I gotta get to putting that verse on the plantation because I'm a boss, and I think they need to obey their master. Damn it.
Yeah, man. Just like you gotta obey yours. You gotta obey yours.
Yeah, true that. Or I'll be out of there.
Brother Jay, we really appreciate it. Very insightful.
Hey, let's do it like this. Let's try to set up another time, or maybe we could even have a little bit more structure of exactly what we want to do. But I think this was a good little flow. You know what I'm saying? And really, I think y'all need to be taking down some of these weirdo cats, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to introduce this practicality of the word in a way that can clean up some of these GMS buffoons and shit like that, man. For real.
Man.
I think a lot of people trying to get away from GMS.
Man,
they should be. They should be.
Man, we here to tell our people the truth, man, and get our people back on track. So whoever it is that's off, man, that's who the Most High. When we put us in front of them, that's who we want to have that conversation.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate y'all coming through, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate everybody that pulled up in the chat. Yeah, we're gonna do a part 2 of this. We're gonna let's keep this popping, man. I like this.
Yes, sir. You enjoy your night, man.
Hey, shalom.
All right. Shalom. Peace.